Hey there, welcome to Authentically Raw. I'm your host, Jamie Barris.
Hello, Valeri Rusco of Direct Aesthetics. How are you?
I'm good, Jamie. Thanks. How are you today?
I'm fantastic. Welcome to the Authentically Raw podcast. We are going to have, which I'm so excited, a really, really authentic and raw conversation about pretty much all things injectables and probably a lot more. So first off, can you just tell our listeners a little bit about yourself, Val?
Absolutely. Well, thank you for having me, first of all, Jamie.
Yes.
I am a physician's assistant. I've been a physician's assistant for 17 years. I started working initially in the emergency department at Butterworth downtown, which was wild and amazing. And then I transitioned to orthopedic surgery and assisted Dr. Mark Asperheim in orthopedic surgery for 11 years. And then over the last 4 years, I've kind of combined ortho surgery with aesthetics as I transitioned into this field and have just been loving it. I'm actually now full-time aesthetics and I don't do ortho surgery anymore, although Dr. Mark Asperheim and I still communicate and he's my medical director for my business.
That's amazing. So tell me, basically, aesthetics, like what does it all involve? Give us the lowdown.
So from my standpoint, and everybody might be a little bit different, mine is caring for the skin as an organ, the overall health of the skin. And what happens with the age-related changes, why we're seeing what we're seeing. In my practice, I really focus on education. I teach patients how to care for their skin, and we go over the why of why are you getting this line here? Why are you starting to have volume loss or shift in certain places? So that patients can really have a good understanding of what's happening, what the treatment is, why we're doing that, and how they can be proactive about it long term.
Okay. All I know is, hey, I have wrinkles in my forehead and I came to see you. So there it is. Here's the authentically raw truth right here is that I started to get Botox. It's probably been maybe a year and a half, maybe 2 years ago. And I'll admit it took me, I thought about it for several years. I'm one of the, some people are just more of like the scowlers and they get the line between their eyebrows. I'm more of the eyebrows up, wrinkles across my forehead, always wearing that like surprise expression on my face. And I don't know, just walking around like that for years, age accumulation. And I could tell even when I was just straight faced, like these lines were so deeply etched in my forehead. And yeah, I hit my mid 40s and I thought, I want to do something about it. Some people inject ink in their skin for tattoos. I want to inject something to smooth my lines out. So there's the truth. So I first came to see you, and I'm going to start here because I'm going to rewind from where I was going to go first. I would like to talk about maybe some of the myths, because a lot of people are just scared. What's it going to do? Am I going to walk out of the office and am I going to look, just deformed? Or, we have these celebrities that we always want to pinpoint, like, I don't want to look like so-and-so or this or that. So are there a lot of myths that you find that are reoccurring that you would like to just say, that's not true, this is true?
Absolutely. When patients typically come to me and they're first timers, they've been thinking about it a long time. They've been researching it. They've been looking for a provider, and hopefully they find one that's a good fit for them. When patients come to me, one of the first things they always say is, I don't want to look fake. I don't want to look unnatural. Maybe my significant other is concerned I'm going to look different. And I don't want to look like so-and-so that I've Googled or saw on Entertainment Tonight or, wherever you're getting your dish from. So I like to again, my practice is really rooted in education. I like to talk to patients about the why and the how of aging. Also, I'm practicing in the Midwest. It's a fairly conservative area. So a lot of those people that you're seeing, they're in Hollywood or Miami, and maybe they're going for an augmented look. Here we go for a more natural look. So my goal is to help patients look like the most healthy, youthful version of themselves and respect their natural anatomy. A lot of myths, though. Patients, like I said, they don't want to look cabbage patchy with big puffy cheeks. They don't want to look blown up. They don't want to have big fish lips or duck lips. And absolutely not. I don't want my patients to look like that. Those cases that you see typically have had lots and lots of procedures done over a long period of time. And unfortunately, those patients have kind of forgot where they started. And yeah, so that's not what we're doing here in Southwest Michigan.
Right. It's almost like you need to carry that picture, which you actually do take pictures, like the before and when you first started, when I first came in, you got your, iPad out and took some pictures and things. That's kind of a good self-check, I think. How did I used to look? Do I still look that way? Do I just maybe... I think for me, it's about just keeping a little bit of a youthful look. I know there's the war between aging gracefully and this and that. I'm fine, with that. But I don't want to, every time I look in the mirror, just see these really, deep, deep wrinkles. And I thought, smooth it out and I'll do the eyebrow raise. And they are smoothed out a little bit. Are they gone? No, absolutely not. Do I still have facial expressions? Absolutely. So it's a good place to check. I do have a couple questions before we go further because I don't want to forget them. You brought up researching a provider and things like that. So what do you look for to find a good provider? Because most people just Google and go from there.
I think a high-level aesthetics provider is really important. I think mid-level practitioners do a really great job in looking at the experience of the practitioner, no matter what level they are. I think providers from a surgical background have a little bit of a leg up because they understand the tissue planes and they understand how to instrument and work within the tissue planes. And that's essentially what we're doing. Botox is something that is injected very, very superficially, but say dermal fillers, sometimes we place them above the muscle, sometimes we place them below the muscle. And you need to know how the tissue responds, where you are at, and why you're placing things in certain areas. Because if you're not in the right plane and you're putting the wrong product in the wrong plane, it is going to look fake. It is going to look unnatural. So I just think finding somebody that really respects you and where you're at and wants to go on that aesthetic journey with you. Also, I find that finding someone who it just resonates with you, someone that has a look that you identify with.
Definitely. And, one other thing too, when you were speaking, I thought of is the age to start, because like I said, I was in my mid 40s and I feel like the age that people are starting to do these things is really young, like in their 20s and stuff. And granted, sign of the times, that wasn't even on my radar then. It really wasn't even on my radar in my 30s, maybe in right around the time I started to hit 40, and it still took years to take that first step. And for me, it was, okay, after a couple months, it'll all fade out. If I never want to do it again, no big deal, just go. But what happens, or first two-part question, what age is too young? What age is maybe a good age? And are there side effects to starting too young?
So to answer the first part of your question, there's really no good age. There's no magic number to start Botox. I personally started Botox when I was 30, and it's because genetically I was predispositioned to have two really deep lines. You're at 11 lines, and they were getting very etched, very deep, and they were present at rest. We all have dynamic lines when we move, but static lines are lines that are there when you're not moving your face. And I was very self-conscious about it. And I felt like this area of my face looked like a different age than other areas of my face. So for me, I was self-conscious. It was when I started. So whenever you're seeing deep lines at rest, whether that's because of sun damage or genetics, a lot of it is genetics, that's when it's time to consider it. So at Direct Aesthetics, consultations are always complimentary. Also for me, education about the why is super important. For me, I don't want to just treat the muscle. I want to talk about the skin on top of it. Because if your skin is starting to show age-related changes, we've already got a lot going on under the skin. But think of the skin like the mattress. If your mattress is in bad shape, then everything else is going to look poor. So, and that can just be simple of what is the best, most superior protection from a sunscreen to look for. Should you be using a vitamin C? Should you be using a serum? I give all of my patients my skincare 101, which if you checked those couple of boxes, you would have a maximally efficacious yet maximally simplified skincare routine. I don't want you to have a product graveyard and 19 bottles on your counter and a 12-step program. I'm not going to do it. I wouldn't expect you to.
Right.
So, yeah. So as for side effects, so Botox and Dysport are both neuromodulators. They start taking effect into the neuromuscular junction in about 3 to 5 days, but their max efficacy is 2 to 8 weeks. And then it starts to wear off gradually in 90 to 100 days. Once it's gone, it's gone. Your muscle will resume its natural activity. So if you get consistent Botox treatments and then you let it wear off, it's kind of, you feel like you're more wrinkly, but really you're not. It's kind of like if you've had eyelash extensions and then you go without them, or you've had some hair, hair pieces and then you go without them. You feel like your natural hair just aren't enough. Yeah.
Right.
So you'll start to see the wrinkles again. They won't be worse. They won't be deeper. You're just going to go back to what you had before. Some more serious side effects that people are concerned about, they're Googling, is change in position of the brow or change in position of the lid. Sometimes Botox injected improperly in the lower face can affect the smile. I take a lot of care at Direct Aesthetics to make sure I evaluate everything about your anatomy. I'll have you do a lot of facial expressions, watch you animate, watch you raise your brows and bring your brows together so that I inject in a proper plane and in a proper distribution. And I think that, again, kind of goes back to finding a provider that puts education and anatomy first.
Yes. No, I remember too, it's like every time you getting the iPad out and making all these, terrible faces. And then that's when you really see, it's like, gosh, is that what I look like to other people when I'm making these facial expressions? It's like, if it wasn't bad enough in the mirror, you hit it home here, right? It's time to do something. No. So I ended up doing Dysport, not Botox, correct?
Correct.
Yeah. So I don't even remember the difference or why exactly we chose that. I think, some longevity on it was one thing. So why don't you tell us the difference between the two, please?
So there's a bunch of different neuromodulators on the market. There's Botox, Dysport, Xeomin, Jeuveau. You might have heard of Daxxify. There's been some buzz in the news about Daxxify. That's supposedly the longest acting Botox now. Think of them as Kleenex and Puffs. They're the same product. They're just made by different companies. Same molecule, just different proteins on them. And that helps with the longevity and how they get into the neuromuscular junction. So I choose to participate in my practice with Botox and Dysport because I think those companies have the best safety profiles, the best research for their products. So I have chosen those to offer to my patients. When it comes to which is a better fit, that comes down to having a conversation with the patient in my office to find out what they're looking for, if it's natural look, if it's real smoothness to the area, or longevity. So that's something that I can help them choose which product is best for you. And I always give patients all the information on both the products.
Okay. And then, okay, so that's, I feel like I'm all, I know mostly about that because it's the forehead area was my big concern that we treated. But I do know a lot of other people have concerns, say with their lips, or what do we call around their face? Is it the frown lines or... Yeah,
so these are your nasolabial folds in your
right. Well, because actually I should back up because the crow's feet or whatever, when you smile, that is a Botox. That's not a filler, correct?
Yeah, what I usually will tell patients, and this is a generalized statement, it varies for everybody, is Botox or Dysport, think the orbits up. So crow's feet, 11 lines, wrinkles on your forehead, okay? Orbits down, typically that's because of the superficial and deep fat pads that are under our skin are starting to get smaller and descend. So that's why we'll get heavy in the nasolabial fold, the marionette line, and the jowling. A lot of times it's from volume loss of the temple, preauricular, mid-face, and that's why you get heavy. That being said, as an aesthetic provider, I think we have a big responsibility in the community to portray natural, real results and be authentically raw and not be filtered. You may notice on my Instagram, Facebook, I will never have a filter. I'm a normal person with normal skin that has imperfections and blemishes. So the trend now in all these filters is no nasolabial fold and no marionette line. These are natural anatomic features. Even a 2-year-old has a tear trough and a nasolabial fold. So
I'm going to stop right there for 1 second, just for people that are just listening. Vale's pointing at, it's the frown lines around our face is called what?
So between your nose and mouth, that line called the nasolabial fold.
Okay.
And from the corner of the mouth down to the jowl area is the marionette line.
Okay.
And then when you get a little heavy in that jaw area, that's the jowling essentially that bothers.
Yes. And you're correct. I see all these filters. I'm with you. I don't do filters because I just don't know how. I haven't figured it. I don't even want to. I don't really care. But yeah, it's gone. So go on. I had to just clarify.
Absolutely. And again, I think as an aesthetics provider, and especially at Direct Aesthetics, I will always be authentically raw and real with you. You'll never see filtered pictures. I don't airbrush any of my before and afters. We are real people, and our imperfections are what make us perfect. So for that, the way that we treat that is we will place a little bit of soft filler either under the muscle or over the muscle in either the mid face, the lateral face, or in front of the ear. And that helps to give those tissues support. Okay. So filler is a soft gel that we implant, like I said, under the skin or under the muscle, and it helps to restore lost volume. We get heavy in our low face because we lose that volume in our upper face. When people are trying to look in the mirror and look younger, you'll see them pull back on the skin in front of their ear and up by their cheekbone and their temple. And essentially that's what the filler does, is it's going to restore volume in those areas.
Okay. So then with filler, because I know filler lasts longer than the Botox, is that correct?
Yes, filler is completely different. Botox is a neuromodulator that works on the muscle. Filler, again, think of it as restoring or changing, supplementing to the fat that's under the skin. So it's a thick, cross-linked, real strong mesh hyaluronic acid. Hyaluronic acid is actually what naturally occurs in all of our joints in our body to lubricate them. So when it's injected, it can last 1 to 2 years depending on which filler we choose for you.
Wow. Oh, so it's good for you then. If it's naturally in our joints, I mean, right?
It's a health food.
Exactly.
Well, it's interesting because in my orthopedic career, I used to inject hyaluronic acid into the knee joint itself to lubricate knee joints for patients that had arthritis to help them move more smooth. So now I'm still injecting hyaluronic acid, but now we do it in lips and cheeks to restore lost volume.
Oh, I love it. I love it. So, okay. I didn't take the plunge or didn't do any of this because, I just want to smooth out, my main areas, I just like a little bit of a smoother forehead. But I did ask about I just call them like my laugh lines or, all that kind of stuff, because I am getting some pretty big indentation here. And I love how when you're speaking and you're doing all this stuff to your face, I'm just wanting to say, you mean a sagging face, an old sagging, drooping, muscle loss face, because that's technically, truly what happens, right? As we lose a muscle and it's just our faces start to sag. It's crazy. So I'm blanking on what it's called right now, but I know you had mentioned there's something that does give you more of that smoother, that wasn't a filler. What was that?
Yes. So that is called Sculptra. Sculptra is a biostimulant. Filler, that thick gel, is something that I would place specifically in certain areas to revolumize, whereas Sculptra, the biostimulant, actually stimulates the fibroblastic cell, which is the cell within the skin that stimulates collagen production. So what I do with Sculptra is I'll inject it in larger areas where you have a lot of volume loss. Again, I'm speaking about kind of that temple area, cheek, and in front of your ear, and I inject that all in those areas, and then you'll get slow growth of your body's own natural collagen over the next 8 to 12 weeks. So Sculptra is a wonderful natural product. So patients that don't want filler, they want their own tissue to improve, they're great Sculptra patients. And Sculptra lasts 2 to 4 years because you're actually growing your body's own natural collagen. So when you discussed when you came in how these were the lines that bother you, a lot of patients, I'll ask them what other things bother them. And if they have other areas of concern, I'll say, well, why don't we address what truly brought you in? And then let's work on skin quality. Because if we could address what truly brought you in and improve your skin quality 10 to 20%, maybe you feel great about yourself. And that's all I hope to do, is help everybody improve the health of their skin and help them to feel their best about themselves. Because really, that's what we all want to do, feel good. I want the inside to match the outside.
Exactly. And I think that's so true too, because it's not about getting to the point of looking like we're, 16 again. I don't, that's not the goal or the point, or altering the way, we look. But I agree, because just smoothing out those lines on my forehead, I feel better. There's just something about that. I look at some old pictures of my early 40s to some pictures right now, and I'm like, I really like the fact that my forehead looks better now than it used to, and I'm good. It's good. It's done. I'm done right now. And I'm good with that. There's a couple other things. Actually first, more of injectables or anything else, that's out there. I guess I'm not super knowledgeable. That's out there you want to talk about or bring up?
So there are a lot of options for patients as we age. I guess what I try to do is break it down into aging on the skin, the muscle, the fat, and the bone, and find out which layer is primarily where you're seeing the most significant age-related changes, and offering you the treatments that Direct Aesthetics offers for those different tissues. If you would like to look into lasers, there's a lot of other treatments, lasers, microneedling, things like that. I tend to focus on injections at my practice, just because I think that they give the best results.
Exactly. Yes. So I have to bring this up, because you do post some things like this on Instagram too. You live on a lake, and we live in Michigan, and the lake is cold, if not frozen over, several months out of the year. And you do the cold plunge, and I know it's all of the rage, and I have not brought myself to do that. I am a summer child by heart. I love warm. I hate cold. And every time I see that, I think, I should. What are the benefits of that?
So for me, I love the cold, because every day that I plunge, I start the day out with doing something hard, showing myself I can do something very hard. It's mind over matter, and it definitely wakes me up. But studies have shown that it improves your immunity. It can decrease inflammation in the body. I think it makes my skin look great.
Glowing. It always is glowing.
And it's also nice to take whatever the lake can, has to offer me, no matter what the season, and enjoy it for that.
Yes, definitely. No, I love it. So any last parting tips or anything, even just, is there things, we all know, eat right, don't eat a lot of sugar, of course, alcohol, sun, all of these things that age, even if it's stress, can damage and age our skin. Any products that you see that really make a difference? Because there's no short of products. And it's, 1 week it's this acid you should do, or this vitamin C, or retinol, or what are your kind of go-tos that you would recommend people for their skin?
So my go-tos are Skin Better Science. They have the best research, the best white papers on results. It really is medicine for your skin, but you can get it through a medical provider. I think, again, keeping it simple, because then the patient compliance is higher. And again, it's not just one thing. A lot of patients come in, and if they have a tan, they apologize and they say, I'm never wearing sunscreen. I love the sun. And guess what? I love the sun too. Just because I polar plunge doesn't mean I want to live in Alaska. I want you to get the sun. I just don't want you to get the sun damage. So doing all of the things to practice, just all around self-care. So make sure you're eating nutrient-dense diet. Is that every day of your life? Well, sometimes yes, sometimes no. Drinking a lot of water, that helps plump the skin. And these are all things that are great for your heart and your kidneys and your liver as well. But I think the Skin Better Science products, I've seen the most dramatic change in my patient's skin when they're compliant with them. And again, for me, I don't want a 12-step regimen. The most simplistic regimen out there, that's what I'm going for. Also, because I'm so education focused, there's no dumb questions. There's no silly products that you've bought. I just want patients to learn how to care for their skin properly. So that's why consultations are always complimentary.
Okay. And I guess, with as far as skincare products, is there one or two that you feel are, if you're going to splurge, because a lot of this stuff, it is pricey, good skincare can be. If there's one or two things that I want to have in, my regimen, what would they be?
Absolutely, hands down, your vitamin C and your retinol. Those are the two products that are designed to work deep into the dermis of the skin. Over-the-counter products are not allowed legally to penetrate the dermis of the skin. If they did, that would be medicine. So if you're getting a product that's designed to work on the surface of the skin, purchase that over the counter. My two favorite over the counter brands are CeraVe and La Roche-Posay. I think they do a good job with their science. But that would be your moisturizer, really designed to work on the surface of the skin, your sunscreen, and your cleanser. But hands down, if you're going to skin vest, your vitamin C and your retinol step. If you want to splurge on the other things, yes, there are some bougie moisturizers and cleansers out there as well, but it doesn't have to be rocket science.
One more question about the retinol, because I've tried that on and off, and oh my gosh, it's so hard. My skin it either turns bright orange or red, and it just flakes constantly. And I can't get to that point where it's like I can tolerate it. I go, even just like once a week has been hard. Is there any, do you mix it with moisturizer? Maybe I'm using too much. Any tips on that? Because I actually hear this from a few people, like, I've given up. I can't do it because I just look awful all the time,
Yes, the retinol step is really hard to master. That's why I really recommend a non-irritating retinol, which is typically a medical grade. Skin Better Science has a non-irritating formula that has a lot of peptides, has chamomile in it, and that helps to ease that transition for patients. If you're getting some sort of other retinol, whether it's a prescription retinol, you have to use the size of a pea, very, very small amounts. Again, think of these like medicine. This is not over-the-counter products where we're squeezing the whole bottle out. The size of a pea. And just the areas where you're having the age-related changes, don't forget neck décolleté. And if it is too strong and you're frying your face off and getting red and irritated, that tells me you're using it too frequently or you need to mix it with a moisturizer. So you could start once a week, mix it with a little moisturizer, see how you do with that and build up slowly. If it's a prescription strength tretinoin or retinol, otherwise you can try the non-irritating formulas.
Okay. I just have to stick with it. I know, and get past that hump, or just, once in a while is better than none at all. So,
and with the non-irritating formulas, there a lot of times isn't a hump. So I think really choosing one that's specific for your needs. If you took all of the retinols from under your counter and added up how much you spent on them, you could purchase 2 bottles of Skin Better Science. So
true. So true.
We all have a product graveyard.
I know it is true. And then, there's a half in each one. And you're like, oh, maybe I'll use it. Maybe I'll use it. No.
So what I recommend patients do with their product graveyard, once we get your regimen as cleaned up as we possibly can and maximized, take all those bottles and make little self-care stations around the house. In your living room, put a basket with a lip balm, a couple of those creams. And every time you sit down, put hand lotion on. Sometimes I'll just throw them all in the shower and shave with them. So use them up, because then you don't feel bad about spending the money.
What a good idea. I like self-care stations around the house.
Me too.
That is such a good idea. I'll stash like hand creams and things like that, different places in the car or whatever, but a little station, like a cute little basket with stuff. Oh my gosh. I love that. That is adorable. Val, thank you so much for your time and all of your valuable information. So where can listeners find you?
So I'm downtown Rockford, 27 North Main. They can also go to the website, which is direct-aesthetics.com. If you live in Rockford, you can Google Botox near me. I always pop up. And you can find me on Instagram as well, any of the social media platforms. Most of my social medias are very, very education-based. So I'd love it if you followed along and, gave it a like. And if you have any questions, please feel free to reach out about services. Consultations are always complimentary, and I would love to help you love the skin you're in.
Oh, absolutely. Thank you. And I love your Instagram posts. They are very educational. So
thank you. Thank you for having me, Jamie.
Yes. Thanks so much for your time.
Thank you so much for being here as we kick off this podcast together. I really appreciate you joining me on this journey, because I'm well aware you could be doing or listening to anything right now. Hey, if you enjoy the Authentically Raw content, please support the show by following, rating, and reviewing on Apple Podcasts or wherever you listen. You can also follow me on social media for daily inspiration. Head over to my website, jamiebarris.com, to sign up for weekly transformation tips. Or if you're interested in coaching, I currently have 3 openings for one-on-one coaching. If you're looking for an empowering community, we'd love for you to join us in the Transformation Tribe, our group coaching membership. More info available on my website under the Life Coaching and Membership tabs. One last thing, I'm rooting for you. Be real, be raw, be authentic.